Welcome to College Football Transfer Portal video. It is January 12th, 2026. Let's get to the news. Surprisingly, we had some big transfer portal news from the past 5 days, so I'm going to break those down, plus the ones we had today. We'll start with Cam Coleman, wide receiver for Auburn, has been transferred to Texas. This one, I would give this one an A plus, and the reason is Arch Manning is back for another year. Steve Sarkisian is going to get this offense going, and Cam Coleman, he is so electric, and I think Texas got a real good replacement. Remember, they lost Parker Livingstone, who left to go to Oklahoma, which is their rivals. This time they got their number one wide receiver and Cam Coleman. I'll give this one an A plus. Luke Reynolds, tight end for Penn State, has been transferred to Virginia Tech, and he'll reunite with James Franklin. We'll see if he will be tight end number one over there. If he is, I'll give it a B plus. But if not, I'll still give him a B plus. I think he'll be more of a blocking tight end for this team. They're going to want to have the run game going for this Virginia Tech offense. A former Virginia Tech quarterback, Pop Watson III, has been transferred from Virginia Tech to UMass. And this one is a really good pickup for UMass. Of course, they're in their second year in the MAC. They need a quarterback that's going to come in, have that winning experience. Now, he's been a third tier or backup last year. So I think this is his big opportunity to put his name in there. I'll give this one a B plus. Corey Gordon, the safety for Louisville, goes to Kansas. I'll give that one a B plus. Really good pickup for Kansas, and I think Corey Gordon could do something really good for that Jayhawks defense. Xavier Chaplin, offensive tackle for Auburn, is leaving to go to Florida State. Florida State needs to upgrade their offensive line since, yes, they're going to hopefully bring in a new quarterback, which we'll see if they do. If not, Ashton Daniels, the Auburn quarterback, has gone to Florida State, which we already talked about in the last one. I'll give this one an A. Just they're going to have to upgrade that offensive line for the future. Keyshawn Singleton, wide receiver for South Florida, will be heading to Auburn, so he will be joining Alex Golesh and Byron Brown, and he would probably be their number one wide receiver there. I'll give this one an A minus. Really has a good connection with Byron Brown, and he is going to understand Alex Golesh offense, but in a conference like the SEC, I think he will be a real threat for these DBs in the SEC. Give that one an A minus. Bryson Rogers, wide receiver for Ohio State, is going to South Florida, so he'll be joining with Brian Hartland, who is now the new head coach for South Florida. This is, I believe, the Keyshawn Singleton replacement, and I believe he is a true number one wide receiver for this football program. And I think Hartland knows how capable he is. Remember, he was a play caller promoted as a wide receivers coach. He knows how these wide receivers can play. I'll give this one an A plus. Bryson Rogers to the Bulls. Chaz Coleman, the defensive end for Penn State, goes to Tennessee. Tennessee needs to boost up that pass rushers, and Chaz Coleman, I think he can do it. Probably not the same numbers as James Pierce Jr. from 2 years ago, but I think he will be a more bull rusher for the Bulls. I'll give that one a B plus. Lance Hurd, offensive tackle for Tennessee, going to Kentucky. Kentucky again. Kentucky is making good portal moves, and they're upgrading their offense because Will Stein is going to be the new head coach again. He is going to come in that building to this program to build that trenches for the Kentucky offense. We know their quarterback is going to be Kenny Michie, and they are going to need to give him some weapons and some O-line. And I think they're doing that for this program. I'll give this one an A for upgrading the offensive line. Then the biggest one, this is a real interesting one. Eric Singleton, the wide receiver from Auburn, is going to Florida to reunite with the Gators' new offensive coordinator, who used to be the Georgia Tech offensive coordinator. And you know who was there in Georgia Tech? Eric Singleton. So that is a very good pickup for John Sumrall and the Gators to bring in a number one wide receiver there for Florida. Give this one an A plus. I think they need a number one wide receiver. We'll see who their new quarterback is going to be if they somehow go get someone in the transfer portal. But once they get that quarterback, I do believe Florida is going to get a bowl game or maybe 6 or 7 win games. I just think they're going to be a real more improving team this upcoming next season. Maxwell Roy, defensive tackle for Ohio State, will join Bobby Chesney and UCLA. I think Maxwell Roy is going to get a lot of play time as a defensive line for UCLA. I'll give this one a B plus. Earl Little Jr., safety from Florida State, is going to Ohio State. Probably the replacement for Caleb Downs, who's going to the draft. I'll give this one a B plus. Hollywood Smoothers, who was transferred from NC State to Alabama, has flipped his committee from Bama to Texas. So Texas has 2 good running backs. I mentioned Hollywood Smoothers is going to be a speedster. They do, of course, have Hawkins, I believe, I believe it is Raquel Brown, running back from Arizona State. So it's going to be they're going to have power and for Brown, and then Smoothers, you're going to get speed. I'll give this one a B plus. Jamie French Jr., wide receiver from Texas, goes to Michigan. A new weapon for Bryce Underwood and the new Michigan offense. I'll give this one a A on this one. Winston Watkins Jr. has been transferred from Ole Miss to LSU. So he will be going back and reunite with Lane Kiffin for their new QB1, which we'll get to the QB1 in a moment. I'll give this one an A minus. He is going to have some more of a WR1 or WR2 kind of style. I think he's a good fit for LSU. Give me an A minus. All right, this one was a surprise. Dylan Raiola, who everybody calls him the next Patrick Mahomes. Yeah, he can do the same thing what Mahomes does in the NFL. He is transferred from Nebraska to the Oregon Ducks. Wow, this one I did not expect that to happen. And before I grade this, Dylan Raiola again spent his 2 years with Nebraska under Matt Rule's the head coach, but he is dealing with an injury that had in his season, which again, Oregon is going to be patient because yes, he is still dealing with an injury, and they're still waiting on Dante Moore's decision. Either he's going to stay at college or is he going to go to the draft for 2026. But once Dylan Raiola is healthy, he has a great arm. He has the same energy like Patrick Mahomes. He can use his legs like how Mahomes does it in clutch moments. He has a good arm, and I do think Dan Lanning is going to want Raiola once he's healthy. Deep shots. They're going to want to improve the deep balls, 50-50 balls, moonlight or moonshots, how Russell Wilson throws those balls. But I think Dylan Raiola can fit in Dan Lanning's offense. And yeah, they're going to have a new OC for Oregon. We'll see who they get. And take a look at this. I would give this one an A plus if he was healthy. But right now I'm giving him an A because he's going to a real good program in Dan Lanning, who he is desperate for winning a national championship. And I do believe once Dylan Raiola is healthy for next season or 2027, you're going to get a version of a Patrick Mahomes 2.0 in Oregon, and Eugene is probably going to win a national championship. with Dylan Raiola. Terrence Moore, safety for Duke, is going to Ohio State. Again, they just got Earl Little Jr. I got him a B plus. For this one, I'll also give him a B plus. Quincy Porter, wide receiver for Ohio State, leaves to Notre Dame, which is another big loss for the Buckeyes. For Notre Dame, they get a good weapon, of course, for Carr in his second year in Notre Dame. I'll give this one a. All right, this saga is still going on, but I'm going to make this confirmed. Sam Levitt, the quarterback for Arizona State, has been transferred from Arizona State to LSU, meaning that the Tigers have their new quarterback and Lane Kiffin's new QB1. But as of right now, Tennessee are not giving up on bringing Sam Levitt to Knoxville, which, listen, I'm not going to worry about that. I'm going to say Sam Levitt goes to LSU. Go Tigers, which I don't know why I put the L, but Sam Levitt. This is interesting, but also how long did it take for LSU to find a quarterback? There was good quarterbacks in the market. Dylan Raiola was one of them. Yeah. But they would have had a chance to go get big name quarterbacks. And Sam Levitt was the number one transfer portal quarterback on that list. And this is that move. He visited with Miami. He visited with Kentucky. He visited with, I believe, Tennessee, yes, and then LSU. So now he's going to LSU, which Lane Kiffin has his new QB1. This is not Trinity Chambliss. This is not Jackson Dart in those times. This one is Sam Levitt, and he has a good arm. He is a mobile quarterback. The question is, how will Sam Levitt do at LSU? Again, with Kenny Dillingham, he was very, very talented there with Arizona State. Now you're going to LSU, and I believe Charlie Weiss, the Ole Miss OC, going to LSU to become the offensive coordinator. Is the play calling going to change Sam Levitt's skills? Take a look at this. I'm going to give it an A. I think it's a good move for LSU. I'm not giving it an A plus just because, he's a good quarterback. He's better than Dylan Raiola. No, it's the destinations to these transfer portals. These guys are moving from their previous school to a new school for them to have success. That's what this is about for the transfer portal. And I think Sam Levitt going to LSU, it's going to be a new play caller. It's a new head coach. It's a new conference that he's going to try out for the first time. Again, he's done it before. Michigan State. Then he got transferred to Arizona State. And now he's going to LSU in the SEC. That is still the toughest conference to win in. But I'll give him an A for this one. Ty Hollywood, offensive tackle for Michigan, going to Alabama. Bama's going to upgrade their O-line. Makes very sense. I'll give that a B+. Justin Martin, quarterback from Maryland, going to Ohio State. So I'm guessing he's going to be the backup for Julian Sayin. Give this one a B+. Tagare Tashaboa, guard for Ohio State, going to Kentucky. I mentioned with Lance Hurd, they're upgrading that offense with Will Stein as their new head coach. Give this one an A. Braden Fowler Nicolaso, quarterback for Colorado State, is the new backup for Bryce Underwood in Michigan. That is an interesting pickup. I'll give this one a B-. Deuce Knight, quarterback for Auburn, going to Ole Miss. So I'm guessing he's going to be the backup for Trinity Chambliss, unless if Trinity Chambliss goes to the NFL. And if he does, there's your new QB1. But I'll give him a B+. Elijah Bo Barnes, the true freshman linebacker from Texas, goes to Kentucky. Give this one an A-. Real good linebacker. He's going to be a starter for that Kentucky Wildcats defense. And then finally, another wide receiver, Malcolm Simmons, Wide receiver for Auburn going to Texas Tech. Yeah, Texas Tech got Brendan Shorsby. They're going to want to give him some weapons. Malcolm Simmons is one of them. I'll give this one an A minus. That's it for transfer portal. College football transfer portal, January 12th, 2026. If you're not seeing my other videos, go check them out on my channel. Of course, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell for more sports news.